now then is an actual roll of paper and what it actually does. And you'll find loads of information on here, okay? The reason they're shrink wrapped like this is to keep them clean while they're in storage. If they weren't shrink wrapped, then they'd obviously get dirty. You'd have to take the first bit off, the ends would get dirty, and that'd be no good. When you store wallpaper, always store it on its side on racks as well, not on the ends. If you store it on the ends will get crushed because they might drop down. Then what will happen is, when you're trying to match up, the end will be damaged, so you won't get a good joint. So always store wallpaper flat. They come in boxes like this, and they will be stored flat like that. Okay, so make sure you keep the wrapping on, keep them stored flat. So I've got 2 rolls, because I know I need 7 lengths. A roll of wallpaper is 10 metres long there by 53 centimetres or 530 millimetres wide. Now if my roll of paper is 10 metres and my wall that I need is 2 metres 100, I know how many 2's go into 10. So I know 2 metres 100, I'm going to get 4 out of 1 roll. Now, if my measurement was, say, 3 metres 200, I'm only going to get 3 out of a roll. So always, when you're estimating for buying wallpaper, always work out the length of the wall and guess how many widths you've got. And it's generally 4 to a roll on a plain paper. If it's a short wall, 4 to a roll if it's a pattern paper. If it's a long wall, generally always think, do you know what, I'm only going to get 3 to a roll. So just make sure you buy enough. Right, on this then, what we're looking at is these symbols we've got here. This is the one that's most important with this paper because this tells me that that's a straight match paper. Okay, tells me it's strippable here. It's a paste the paper, it's wipeable, and it's sun fast. Okay, now this 53 centimetres on this bit is the repeat of the pattern. And what that means is, if I've got a flower here, there'll be 53 centimetres before it's repeated again. That's another reason you have to actually check the wallpaper before you buy it, because you might be losing that bit on every length. But until you start working with paper, it's difficult to explain. Okay. On the back, obviously, it's going to tell us the soaking time. This one says 5 to 8 minutes. It's really important that you soak them all the same. If you don't, if you soak one for say 10-12 minutes and then you soak one for 5 minutes, they might have stretched at different rates and then your pattern's not going to match up. Don't under soak either. If you under soak, the paper will want to expand because that's what it does when you put adhesive on it. It starts to expand. If you put it straight on the wall without leaving it to soak, it'll expand on your wall, which then you'll get the bubbles and creases. So always leave each piece for the correct amount of time. Okay, that's the information label. Always check as well when you're buying that you're getting the same batch number. Okay, so the batch number means when it's made in the factory, they've loaded up the machine with loads of ink, and then what they've done is gone, right, we can do 2,000 with this ink. So they'll do 2,000, they'll call it batch 1. Then they'll fill up the machine again and they'll call it batch 2. Reason being, there might be a very slight variation in the ink. Okay, so always make sure you get the same batch. You might not notice when you actually just pick the paper up. You see, this is the same batch number. Okay, on this paper here, See, I know it's a different paper, but that's a batch B. All right. Always check the batch, and obviously we ain't got, you have got the information label for that one. Again, batch B. Okay. Yep, checking that, see if it was any different. So that's that one. So really important, that information label. As I said when I'm talking about learning paper, don't throw it away, you might need it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure the lengths for the wall between the two doors. What I've got to decide though, I've got to look at my paper and think, what would be the best bit to go at the top? You've got to have what's called a header. And a header is the main focal point across the top of the wall. Now there's no point me taking it up here because I'll cut right through that rabbit. So I'm looking at it and I think the main bit that's standing out to me at the moment is these two rabbits, this hedgehog and like that. So I'm going to make my header about there, and the header means the piece that goes up to the ceiling. That's where I'm going to do it because you're just cutting through a few bits of leaves and flowers and things. So I'm just going to cut that piece off. Obviously I'm still allowing for wastage. When I put it to the wall it'll come to about here, which will be a nice header, and then it'll start off with a pattern. So my measurement for that wall was 2 meters 100. If you do forget, please go back and double check. Okay, so I'm cutting that piece off. So I'm going to go. Now, the thing is with this paper, you can't mark it with a pencil. The other paper you did. With this one, you can't turn it over either and mark it with a pencil because you need to see the pattern. So what you've got to do with this one is put your finger on where it's gone up to, move it up the board, and go to your next one, hold it there, and then I know I need another 100 to there. Okay, well, looking at that, that looks quite good. It looks like I won't have much wastage. I'm actually going to double check that just to even better. Always spend a bit of time on this bit. Don't rush it. Sometimes I'm trying to get out the way of the tree. I lost my legs. Never mind. Let me just take that down a bit. See if I can make it more accurate. I'm trying to go to see if I don't get any paper wastage. Yeah, so if I can cut it through there, that'll be quite good. And then I'll still have my header. So I need to make sure now when I put that piece on, I can still see the butterfly. So that's my first piece. Now, what I would recommend doing to every single person is I've just cut that piece there. I would recommend checking your wall. One piece, making a mistake, you can get away with. Actually, I've got my marks there on tape too. The whole roll, when you're thinking it might have cost £30 a roll, then that's not very good, is it? So that's always double check. Okay. Just in the table. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this back down here. That plant is crazy. Bring that back down there. Now, because it was a straight match, if you remember, what that means is this piece is going to be identical to that piece. And I'll show you why. if I just find the same rabbit here, okay, so I've got that rabbit, and I take it over, I think, yeah, that's exactly the same. Now a straight match, if it's a straight match, you bring it all the way along like that, and it matches up there, like that, yeah. So if it's a straight across one, it's a straight match. And this one is, now I don't need my ruler, because like when we've done lining paper, all I'm going to do is copy. Now actually, I got the rabbits wrong way around. It's that one, but never mind. So, copying it, you can see I'm doing an identical match of this one. So, and I need 3 for that wall. Put this piece off. So in the end, actually, I was looking at the wrong rabbit. I've noticed this rabbit looks this way, this rabbit looks that way. So it's very similar looking paper. So that one. Yep, still got the butterfly. Got the butterfly. Perfect. So I'm doing another identical one to that one. You can see. So I've got my 3 hedgehogs there in a row. Always make sure you're keeping them exact, like that. When you're moving them, move all the paper at once. Okay, so that's now 3 pieces measured. I'm not going to do the other wall just at the moment because I don't want too much paper on the board. So I'm just going to, it's the same, you won't damage this paper. Some papers you would damage doing this, but not this paper. Then I might do there. And just straighten up that top a bit. I know I've got enough. Here. And then turn that over. Now, another thing I must do for this top bit is, because I'm going to fold in it, and it's a bit of a busy pattern, you can't always tell which way up it is. Mark T. T, or just top, or a line, or a tick, whatever you want to do. Okay. So that's my paper. I know it's going to take 5 to 8 minutes to soak. Turn it over. Now if you remember, let's do that one again. Remember I said that lining paper is the same width as the pasteboard. The finished paper isn't. Okay? The finished paper is narrower. So what you've got to do, like I explained with the lining paper, bring all the paper down to the bottom, take the first piece to the top, or alternatively take it all to the top, first piece to the bottom, then that's going to protect the rest of the table. Okay, right, I can't do anything else now, so I'm going to throw this plant out the window because I need to do what's called a plumb line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this one here and then do the plumb line.